Hey, what's happening, everybody? Colin Crandall here, moving some stuff around, getting some stuff moved to storage. Sorry, it's a mess. At least, fuck it. Anyway, all right, let's break down this interesting card here: UFC Fight Night 205. We'll give a few minutes to see if anyone wants to jump in. Got several thousand people that would jump in if we're doing this on Facebook. Not as many on YouTube because we're newer to YouTube. We've been around for 5 years doing our show on Facebook and on Fight TV for a few years. Happy to leave Fight TV, and we're back on Facebook. We're on Hannibal, the Hannibal TV, which is one of the largest combat sports podcasts based in Canada, and they've got almost 320,000 subscribers now. So we're on their channel every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time in the United States. See if I can fix my collar here. Anyway, let me at least fix that drawer. Do that real quick. Give it look a little bit less messy here. I don't know if that's possible. Anyway, so love to have opinions from you guys and girls about the cool, interesting fight card tomorrow. But anyway, I'm just gonna jump in and start off here. Very first fight is going to be Dean Barry against Mike Jackson. This fight doesn't deserve much talk. Dean Barry is a big favorite. He's in his UFC debut. He's got 5 fights. I can't advise anyone goes and puts $1,000 to win 100 on that. That is absolutely a textbook what not to do. Let's see if the odds are exactly that. Yeah, even more. Sometimes some places you got to put $1,200 down to win 100. Nah, I don't think so. Not even a thought. On the flip side of it, Mike Jackson, is there a chance you could put down $100 to win 750 or 600 or 800, depending where you look? Yeah. So I would go dog or pass, but I don't think the dog has a really good chance here. But you never know. A complete X factor fight. Mike Jackson, rather. Dean Barry is 29 years old, 4-1. Out of Dublin, Ireland, a lot of good fighters out of there, but we don't know enough about Dean Barry, except for that he is a good finisher. Very good finisher. He finishes everyone he beats, and then he gets finished in the one fight he lost. In fact, 4 out of his 5 fights have gone only 1 round. And so there we go. So basically, could you bet Dean Barry by knockout? It looks like that could be a bet. I don't know what the odds are on that, but you could do that. But it's so hard to know how good he is. And Mike Jackson is, 0-1? 0-1. He came in and lost to Mickey Gall in 45 seconds in the first round 6 years ago. And then they put him against CM Punk, and it was a no contest, although I think he officially did get the win over CM Punk, but that was overturned. Ridiculous. Anyway, who knows what's going to go on here. All right, continuing. So, let's see the chat. I have the chat. Let's see here. All right, there we go. All right, next up is going to be Marcin Prachnio and Philippe Lins. This is a tough, close fight as far as the odds makers feel, with a Prachnio, whichever it may be, being a slight favorite, minus 125, 130, 140, depending on the book that you bet with, and then Philippe Lins come back plus 100, plus 105. Take a quick look and see about this fight. Lins is dropping down in weight, having fought primarily at heavyweight, 6'1". He was a little bit short and undersized for a heavyweight, and now he is fighting at light heavyweight. And 14-5. He's 36 years old. Being that he's up in the heavier weights, that's not as old as it would be if you were at 155 or 145, but it's still a bit of an older fighter. 19 fights in his career, and he is 0-2 in the UFC. This next fight, if it's a loss, would probably mean 3 strikes and you're out of the UFC, very possibly for the Brazilian. Marcin Prachnio is a natural 205-pound fighter, 6'3", a little bit taller, 15-5, so the record is very similar. And Prachnio is out of Warsaw, Poland. A lot of very tough fighters in Poland, Pretty girls too. A lot of pretty girls in Poland too. Good people, very good people. Anyway, so he's coming off 2 wins, and before that he had 3 losses. So very interesting. He lost his first 3 fights in the UFC. His first fight was against Sam Alvey. He was kind of thrown to the wolves. He is a little bit of a younger fighter, not that much actually. He's 33, but the other guy's 36. So he lost his first fight in the UFC to Sam Alvey. Got knocked out in the first round. They threw him up, not doing him any favors. They waited 7 months, 6 months, and threw him against Magomed Ankalaev. That's not a favor. And he got knocked out even quicker than the first round. And then they put him against a man they call Slow Mike Rodriguez. And once again, he did not make it out of the first round. He did get a 4th chance, though, and he did somehow beat Khalil Roundtree by decision a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, a year or 3 months ago. And then he did beat Isaac Villanueva by a body kick. So hard to know. So hard to know what the hell's going on here. Obviously, Lynn's back is against the wall, and in this case, I think that extra motivation is going to come through. I would lean to Philippe Lynn, but I'm not going to make that my pick. But if I was forced, that's who I think is going to win. For those of you that know me, no, I'm not fucking around. I'm not trying to fudge. But I go with a system where I can tell you who I think will win all these fights, and then I will tell you who my official picks are. So I'm not trying to yank anyone's chain. That's how I do it. So this is indeed not one of my official picks, nor was the first fight. But yeah, I lean Philippe wins. All right, next fight coming up is going to be Preston Parsons and Evan Elder. So these sound like to me like 2 guys making their UFC debut. And Preston Parsons is not. He is 0-1, losing to D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel several times on the MMA Power Hour show. Really, really cool dude. Good guy, great fighter. That was the first fight for Mr. Preston Parsons, the man they call Pressure. He was coming in with a 9-2 record, and he did get starched in the first round by last July, so about 10 months ago. He is 5'11", 170, 26 years old, really young. And he is going up against Evan Elder. I think this is going to be the UFC debut of Evan Elder. Yes, it is. Evan Elder has a record of 7-0. The Phenom is 5'9", 155 pounds, 25 years old. We got 2 young guys, 26-year-old and 25-year-old. Out of the Nick Diaz Academy is Evan Elder. He has fought in the FAC organization, Shamrock FC, and LFA, and is a finisher. Wow, look at that. 7-0, and 5 of them by finish. 2 guys went to decision with him, and he has 4 KO TKOs and 1 submission. He could beat the other way around. Although, well, yeah, they get submission. Although I do think Nick and Nate have been knocked out. But anyway, let's see what the odds makers think on this one. Really close. Preston Parsons, a slight favorite. I'm leaning Preston Parsons here as well. But who knows? He's got 12 fights. The other kid's got 7 fights. Parsons has some title pictured with here in a different organization. Coming from Combat Night organization and Titan fights. Hard to say. I wouldn't touch this one with a 10-foot pole. So I'm leaning Preston Parsons, but wouldn't bet a penny on it. All right. Next up, we have Kayleen Aori against Cameron Else. Kayleen Aori is from Mongolia, the Mongolian murderer, 18-9, 28 years old, and he's already got 27 fights. That's a lot of fights. He has been a pro since 2015. Wow. So in 7 years, he has 27 fights. Yeah, that's not that easy, but he's good. He came over to the UFC last year in April lost a decision to Jeff Molina, lost a decision to Cody Durden, and this is back against the wall, possibly 3 strikes you're out fight for the Mongolian Keelan Aori. Otherwise, he's got 11 decisions, 6 TKOs, and 2 submissions. At flyweight, that's kind of common. It's just not as many knockouts at flyweight or great action. Guys really quick and really killer, fun fights to watch because there's so much speed. Hey, Bruce just jumped in here. Bruce, Bob Trotter, what's happening? I appreciate you jumping in, my brother. All respect to you. I love that name. I think you're the only person I've ever known named Bob Trotter. So to me, that is better than a globe trotter. A Bob Trotter, in my opinion, I will say, is above a globe trotter. So let's see what your question is. Jordan Twerker Levitt needs to get. Oh, now I'm not gonna read that full language here. In other words, he's wanting him to get himself knocked out. It's not. Oh man, Bruce. You're putting me in a bad position. Not that I'm Joe Rogan or Ariel Helwani or anyone that millions of people know about or give a shit about, because I know I'm not. But yeah, I feel you. Let me just say I feel you, and I dig where you're coming from. And everyone knows me, that I'm a libertarian. I lean conservative. I'm far from this fucking woke bullshit. So let's just say that. So you're I feel you. Where are we? You know what? I didn't even realize what you were talking about. That, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that was not too cool. Yeah, not only that, but kids do watch MMA. So anyone doing any weird twerking or sexually provocative stuff in a cage, yeah, I would be against that. I would be against that. I had forgotten about that. I didn't realize exactly what you were saying. Anyway, but thank you for joining, and that I agree with 100%. No, should be doing that. That's sick, inappropriate shit in a cage, because kids are watching UFC fight for sure, and we don't need to see that either. Anyway, so back on track here. But you see, that's an example that I like when people jump in, and I will interact with you for sure. I know Bruce is definitely knows his MMA, and like a globe-trotting MMA expert, he is a bob-trotting MMA expert. So totally appreciate you, Bruce. Anyway, so Keelan Aori, and his opponent is Cameron Else. Aori is 28 years old, 5'7", so he's a little bit tall for a flyweight. And Cameron Else, let's take a look and see. Cam Cheetah is 30 years old, 5'8", even taller. And usually he fights at 135 out of England. He has a good record of 10-5. In the UFC, he is 0-1, losing to the Matrix Tyler Phillips a year and a half ago. So out of action for a year and a half. I hate when one of the fighters you're in a fight that you're breaking down or analyzing is been out of action for a year and a half, because that makes it kind of an X factor. But damn, I mean, obviously he doesn't want to go 0-2 in the UFC, but Keelan Aori doesn't want to go 0-3 in the UFC. Let's see. I would imagine that Mr. Else is slightly favored. Let's take a look here. No, he isn't. No, he isn't. Wow, about a 2.5 to 1 favorite is Keelan Aori. Not an official pick, but I would throw some money on Cameron Else. Brits have been producing some really, really good fighters lately. I'm definitely would make him my official pick. If I were to bet on him, which I probably will not, it would be maybe like a third of a unit or a quarter of a unit. So, but I do think he's live. I think Cameron Else could win that fight. But you know what? With Aori's back against the wall with 2 losses already, he's going to be fighting really hard to keep his job. Yeah, I would stay away from that fight. But I do think that Else is live. I do expect him to fight 2.5 to 1 dog. But anyway, okay. Let's take a look here and see what is next. Tyson Pedro, against Isaac Villanueva. Tyson Pedro, the Aussie. Sometimes I confuse him with the heavyweight, his countryman, Tai Tuivasa. But I know they're two different people. Their bodies look quite different as well, and but they both got that fighting spirit. I think they're guys from the outback, indigenous or island, Pacific Island, Australian guys. Big respect for these guys. Anyway, Bruce says probably won't. But yeah, who knows? They may or may not. I mean, it seems like a lot of weird shit goes on, and the UFC may not take action against weird shit like that. Anyway, Tyson Pedro, 30 years old, 6'3", 205, has got a record of 7-3. That's not a lot of fights for a 30-year-old to have 10 fights. I do believe he did some kickboxing though prior to starting his MMA career just 8.5 years ago. Wait, so he's 8.5 years ago, and the man has 10 fights. Not a lot. He's dealt with some injuries, though, that's for sure. Anyway, so in the UFC, in his first fight, they threw him to the wolves against Khalil Roundtree, and he got subbed in the first by rear naked choke. They did him no favors at all, throwing him to the Scotsman Paul Craig in his next fight. And he didn't get submitted by Craig. He got stopped with elbows in the first round. He did beat Ilir Latifi in his third fight. No, oh man, my vision is completely cloudy here. He beat Khalil Roundtree by rear naked choke in his first fight. And then he stopped Paul Craig with elbows in the second fight. Then he lost a decision to Ilir Latifi. Sorry. He did come back then and beat Saparbek Safarov by a submission by Kimura. Then he did lose by an armbar to OSP Open St. Preux when OSP still had some steam left about 4 years ago, about. And then he did lose by stoppage to Shogun, Mauricio Shogun Hua. Those were two bad losses. And he has not fought now in nearly 3.5 years. That's crazy. However, I always say, and I'm definitely not against older fighters at all, because I'm an older guy. I'm not a professional fighter, but I've trained and done some really small competitions when I was not quite this old, but several years back for jiu-jitsu, and before that for karate. But the bottom line is, I say that if you're over 35 and you take a few years off and you come back, a lot of times it doesn't work out. But this guy took 3 years off between the age of 27 and 30. That's not that bad. And especially at light heavyweight, he's actually age-wise in his prime now. So he's probably a stronger, more mature Tyson Pedro, and that could be really dangerous. Isaac Villanueva is 38 years old. 8 years older. He's 6'3", also 18 and 13. He's just a tough guy, but he's fought tough guys and somewhat tough guys. Doesn't normally win, but a tough guy who fights his heart out. In the UFC, he lost to Chase Sherman by stoppage. He lost to Jordan Wright by stoppage. He beat Vinicius Moreira by stoppage. Then he lost to Marcin Prachnio by stoppage, and Nikolay Moreno by stoppage. This, unfortunately, the odds makers feel that way too. It's probably going to be all Tyson Pedro. 7-1 favorite, 6-7-1 favorite. I think Tyson Pedro wins this fight. There's no money on it. You can put him in a parlay. Coming off of a 3-year layoff, though, but yeah, Tyson Pedro, I will say this fight. And that will be one of my official picks. But anyway, Tyson Pedro all day. Well, it's a little scary, but Tyson Pedro, I believe for sure. Okay, next fight up, we are looking at. Take We are looking at Dwight Grant versus Sergey Kondoshko. And let's take a look at Sergey first. Sergey is out of Moscow, Russia. He is called Honda. 6'1", 170 pounds, 29 years old, 26-6 record. That's 32 fights. He has been a pro since 2011. 11 years now as a pro, and he's only 29 years old. So he started when he was 18. In the UFC for just a minute here, 2 fights. He beat Rostem Akhman and then lost to Rustam Kabalov, and it hasn't fought in 2.5 years now. He is going up against Dwight Grant, who is 37 years old. Man, 11-4. And Grant has kind of been winning one, losing one in the UFC. Slightly better than that. His first UFC fight was 3.5 years ago. He lost to Zach Otto, came back and beat Carlo Petersoli and Alan Jovan. That was a fight I thought he lost. I thought Jovan beat hurt, and I know Alan did as well. D-Rod, he got stopped. Then he beat Stefan Sikulik by split decision, and then lost to Francisco Trinaldo by split decision. I just don't like this fight. I really, respecting both guys, but I don't think either guy has a super high ceiling. What do the odds makers think? The odds makers have it. The Russian slight favorite. Yeah, I have no idea. What's happening here. One tip that I can give is whoever wins this fight, fade them in their next fight, and whoever loses this fight, fade them. Okay. Then we have, continuing on, Jordan Wright against Marc-Andre Barriault. I like Jordan Wright. I don't like Marc-Andre Barriault. All respect to both guys. They both beat my ass in a matter of seconds. But I'm an old professional fighter and would be fighting at 170 if I was fighting. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter. They would smash me no matter what. But so also all respect to them. But Jordan Wright's a weird guy. I don't love him, but I like him. 12-3, 6'1". He's dropping down here to 185 pounds. And this fight's actually at a catch weight 190, making this drop easier for the Beverly Hills Ninja. And the Beverly Hills Ninja, was that last fight at 85? I think it was against Bruno Silva. Yeah, it was. This is not his first fight at 85, but he did fight at 205. Okay, so here's what he's done. He's been in the UFC for a minute, but not too long a minute. 30 years old. His first UFC fight was just under 2 years ago. He's 2-2. He beat Isaac Villanueva, the aforementioned Isaac Villanueva we were talking about. Isaac Villanueva. He lost to Joaquin Buckley by getting caught. I was ashamed of that. He came back and beat Jamie Pickett by elbows and punches, and then got stopped by Bruno Silva. 2-2, and so he would like very much to go 3-2 and not 2-3. Prior to that, his record was killer. He was undefeated coming into the UFC with 10 wins in a row. Anyway, this is a better weight class for him, I think. He's a couple inches taller than Marc-Andre Barriault, I believe. I'm pretty sure he is. You know what? They have Barriault as 6'1" also, but I think that they're not the same height. I think Wright is at least an inch or two taller. Power bar from Canada. Marc-Andre Barriault is a tough guy. He just got knocked the fuck out by Chidi and Jaquani, and I think I had like 4 units on Jaquani. I felt that would come. Chidi's a beast, and I felt Mark. I'm not high on Marc-Andre Barriault. So I got Jordan Wright here all day, every day. Jordan Wright, and right now the odds makers have it. Marc-Andre Barriault 2-1 favorite all day. Jordan Wright, dog money, take it, get paid. Jordan Wright wins this fight. Okay. Next up, and he is an official pick, obviously, as you gathered what I'm saying. All right. Then coming to the main card. That may have actually been on the main card, but let's see. Possibly, yeah. Either it is or it's the main event on the prelim. Sure. Lando Venata, the groovy one. I like the groovy Lando Venata, 30 years old. Wow, I would have thought he was 35. He's been in this sport for like what? 10 years. Yeah. 20 years old. Yeah, it's not ridiculously young, but a little bit younger to be a pro. But yeah, turned pro at 20. He's been in this UFC organization for a little bit more than a minute. When did he jump in? Wow, 2016. And he's got a ton of fights. The first fight they gave him was a short notice fight against Tony Ferguson. He did get caught halfway through the second round with a Prabo choke, but he was holding his own against a prime Tony Ferguson, a weight class higher than he had been in. That was amazing. He beat John McDessie, lost to David Taymor by decision, split draw with Bobby Green, lost a decision to Drakkar Klose, a draw with Matt Frevola. That's definitely impressive. Beat a guy named Marcus Mariano, lost to Mark Casey, beat Yancy Medeiros, lost to Bobby Green, and beat Mike Grundy by split decision. When he loses, it's always by decision. Keep that in mind. 30 years old, 5'9", 145, 17 fights. He's going up against Charles Air Jourdain, the Canadian, 26 years old, 4 years younger. He is going to be a couple taller. Nope, same height at 5'9". No, like the little shorter. But I think in the weigh-in, it didn't look like Jourdain was taller. Anyway, Air Jourdain has 16 fights, 12-4 in his record. Been in the UFC for a minute as well since 2019, nowhere near as long. Lost to Desmond Green, beat Doo Ho Choi, lost to Andre Touchy-Feely by split decision. Draw against Joshua Kulabau, beat Marcelo Rojo, got Prabo choked by Julian Arosa, and then just beat Andre Ewell. This is going to be a good fight. I just think Charles Jourdain wins this. I don't know if I would make an official pick. The odds makers have it almost a pick 'em, but Charles Jourdain is a slight favorite. I like Charles Jourdain in this fight. I do. I think he wins this fight. I'm gonna make him my official pick, but not one of my more confident picks. Maybe half a unit or just 1 unit on Jourdain. But this is going to be a really telling fight because I think they're both in the top 20, if not top 25. And I think the loser of this falls out, and the winner of this possibly move up several spots. I know Lando was back at 155, or I think he may have stayed at 155 since he did so well against Tony Ferguson years ago, and now he is officially back at 145. I just don't think it's going to be enough. Let's see what Bruce is saying. Mr. Bob Trotter, how much money have you lost maybe gambling and MMA? Bro, given on an estimate, be honest, don't bullshit. Is that it's more lucrative just to invest in S&P 500? Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, Bruce, yeah, MMA betting is fucking hard, really hard. It's unpredictable, and it's really tough. I have never been a huge gambler, but I don't know if you know me that well, Bruce, but I had a copy of the press kit for UFC 1 before the first event, and I had already watched the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in action VHS video many times over and was familiar with the ground game. At that point, wish I would have started training then and taking it seriously instead of waiting 15 years later to do that. But in any case, though, so I've been familiar with watching MMA for a damn long time, since the beginning. And early on, I think I kind of found I had kind of a good knack, having had done some professional gambling in the really early 90s, late 80s, when I was super young and done pretty well when I applied myself. I think in the first, it was hard to get any bets, get any action on MMA in the 90s. So in the 90s, I think I was lucky because I was really kind of learning how it worked. There was also some even worse judging, and I think I ended up maybe slightly ahead, a few $100s at the end of each year, or back and forth in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, I haven't really looked at it, but I definitely will say this. Since I've been on the MMA Power Hour, hosting it and been able to interview just a shit ton of top 20 MMA UFC fighters, one championship fighters, Bellator, PFL, several champions, a bunch of top 10 guys, and even several top 5 guys and girls. It has helped me just getting to know them. And I also really hope that if anyone's already betting, I can help them win money. So I do take it really seriously. I don't advise anyone bet if they're not already betting. Gambling is not the thing to do to help make your life stable and your mind calm and serene. So, but in answer to your question, I think probably over the years I may be up like as much as $10,000, $12,000. But the reality is this: it's hard. It's hard to pick winners, and so I think they say successful professional sports gamblers are really picking somewhere between 60 and 65% correctly over a prolonged period of time. No one's even doing 70. I think apparently it's just not happening. So I would say, I'm there in that mid to upper 60 percentile. And so, I would say that, I'm doing pretty well. But the reality is, if I was absolutely like had a crystal ball, I'd probably be up like $100,000 or $200,000. So to answer your question, it's probably the hardest sport to bet on. But I over the last several years, especially, I've actually done pretty well. But it's not anywhere near any sort of a regular chunk of my income or major chunk of my income, if that. And there are some weeks and months that I don't bet really at all, or I just put down 10 or 20 or $50, if that. So anyway, there, full disclosure, full transparency here, just for you, Bruce, Bob Trotter, and anyone else watching. Anyway, so let's continue on. And also, just in case any tax or anyone else is looking, if you're listening, that's over like a 15-year period, being up maybe $10,000 or $12,000. So that's not a lot. That's like not a lot. But then again, I'm the guy that's throwing maybe $20 here for a bet, $10 there, and $50 there, and on a rare occasion. So, where are we? Okay. So next up we have Alexander Romanov and Chase Sherman. And that is going to be Alexander Romanov all day, every day. The odds makers are going to see that. Chase is given a last-second fight here. I'm still not totally convinced that Romanov is going to be the killer and top 5 guy and one day a champion. I'm not convinced yet. But he's a tough rugged dude. He is. I hate to lay, minus 1,400, minus 1,500. One sports book has it minus 2,500. No, thank you. But he is my pick to win that fight, an official pick, which is not that hard to do. Then we have Macy Barber against Montana De La Rosa. I got Montana De La Rosa as my official pick here. It's going to be a tough fight. Both women are young. Macy is 23. Montana, I think, is 26 or 27. Montana's taller at 5'7". Macy is what, about 5'5", I think, or 4, maybe 5'5", they say. She is 9-2, and in the UFC, Macy has been in it since 2018 and is 4-2, but she did not beat Miranda Maverick. I'm just tell you right here. I think every cage side reporter and media person had Miranda Maverick winning that fight. And I wasn't cage side for that fight. I am for several fights, but I got Macy Barber losing that fight to Miranda Maverick. No way. Anyway, that was her last fight almost a year ago when they gave her the split decision over Miranda. She lost to Alexa Grasso. She lost to Roxanne Modafferi. She beat Hannah Cyphers, J.J. Aldrich, and Jillian Robertson. Tough, gritty girl. I'm not, I'm not super high on Macy Barber. Tough girl. Is she the future? In my opinion, no. And then we have Montana De La Rosa. Montana looks super, super impressive in her last fight. Very nice girl. I've interviewed her twice, I believe. She has been in the UFC a bit longer. She jumped in 2017, beat Christina Marks, beat Rachel Ostovich, Nadia Kassem, lost to Andrea Lee, beat Mara Romero Morello, lost to Viviane Arujo, draw to Mayra Bueno Silva, and then beat the brakes off of Ariane Lipski and stopped her with the TKO. Yeah, I got Montana De La Rosa despite I think her wrestling is going to do it by stoppage, ground and pound, or decision. And she is the dog. Good. Plus 150, 160. Montana De La Rosa is my official pick in that fight. Right? Then we have, hey, Sosa Pogans, how's it going, brother? Appreciate you jumping in every weekend, man. Kill it. And then we have the co-main event, which is Clay Guida, the Carpenter, against Claudio Puelles. And Clay Guida, 40 years old. I mean, who doesn't love Clay Guida? If you don't love and respect this man, then you're living in some alternative universe. He's just a gritty, tough condition, athletic, determined guy. 5'7". He went down to 145 for a minute, too hard a cut. He's back at 155, a little bit undersized for 55, but super tough. The man, 58 fights. Love to see him end his career with 40 wins. I think he would like that too. 40 years old, 37-21. He's been in the UFC, I'm going to say since 2006 or something. Let's see. He jumped into the UFC first in 2000 and I was in Strikeforce. Wow, Strikeforce. It was in Strikeforce starting in 2006. UFC, yes, UFC 2006 also. In his last few fights, he did beat Leandro Santos. Impressive victory. Lost the split to Marco Madsen. Beat Michael Johnson. Lost to Bobby Green and Jim Miller. This is a tough fight. Is this going to be the veteran? Teaches the youngster a lesson that not your time yet, kid, or does the torch get passed to the youngster? 26 years old against 40, 5'11" against 5'7", and let me turn this off. Do this. Make sure I know I can call them in 5 or 10 minutes or less. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. That's definitely important associate. I didn't want to blow off there. All right. Claudio Puelles, El Nino, and Sanford MMA. Tough dude. He's been in the UFC only since 2000. Wow. He's been in the UFC since 2016, but only has 5 fights. So came in, lost to Martin Bravo by stoppage, then submitted Felipe Silva after a 1.5-year break. Right before the pandemic, he beat Marcos Mariano, then had another 1.5-year break. Beat Jordan Levitt, and then beat Chris Ritzmacher by knee bar. Tough fight, man. What do they have the odds? Slight favorite for Puelles, I think. Really close, almost dead even. I love Clay Guida. I'm going to go Claudio Puelles. I'm not going to make him my official pick because I want Clay Guida. I love the old guy. He's an old guy. I love the old veterans. So I'm cheering for Clay Guida, but I'm going to say I do think Claudio Puelles wins this fight. So close to making him my official pick. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make him my official pick, Claudio Puelles, but only like half a unit. And then we are on to the main event of the evening. Main event of the evening is the Battle of the Brazilian Women. Uh, Amanda Lemos, who actually at one point did fight at 135, and she lost to Leslie Smith, and then she's been on a killing streak since then. She submitted Miranda Granger, although I don't think Miranda Granger is still in the organization. She decision Mizuki in a way, very tough, rugged fighter. She just smashed Lavinia Souza. TKO'd her in the first, TKO'd Montserrat Ruiz in the first, and then a split decision. I felt Angela Hill beat her, although it was really, really close. 34 years old, 11-1, only 12 fights at 34. You could say that's not a lot of experience at 34, but she also doesn't have a lot of miles on her. She's only been a pro. She's been a pro for 8 years and has only 12 fights. Very unusual. Anyway, Jessica Andrade has 31 fights, so almost triple the amount of fights as Amanda Lemos. She's 30 years old, so she's younger, but she has a lot more miles on her. She's been in the UFC for gotta be like 8 years or something. Let me see. Her first UFC fight was 2013 July, almost 9 years. She lost to Liz Carmouche at 135. She beat Rosie Sexton. She beat Raquel Pennington by split. She beat Larissa Pacheco, lost to Marion Renault, beat Sarah Morris, lost to Raquel Pennington in the rematch of that earlier fight. Beat Jessica. Then she did drop to 115 because there was no flyweight. She dropped 2 full divisions and was killing it. She smashed Jessica Penne, submitted Joanna Calderwood, now known as Joanna Wood. She did beat Angela Hill, and then she did lose against Joanna Jędrzejczyk in a fight that she had Joanna hurt and kind of busted up in the first round, but then Joanna just, out-slicked her for the rest of the 5-round fight. She came back and beat Claudia Gadelha, Tisha Torres, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and slammed Rose Namajunas on her head to win the title. In her first defense, she didn't make the defense. Wei Li Jing came in there and blasted her out of there. Then she lost a split decision to Rose Namajunas, went up to 125, and just looked bad against Caitlin Chukagian, although Caitlin can do that to you unless your name is no, she did not she did not look bad against Caitlin Chukagian. Man, I can't tell the difference between red and green colors on the victory or loss. And not only that, I remember that fight. I picked her and she looked great. She hurt Chukagian to the body and stopped her in the first round. She looked great. Valentina Shevchenko just pretty much beat the brakes off her by implementing a grappling heavy plan, which I think neither Andrade nor her corner had expected. And then she came back and did beat Cynthia Calvillo at 125, but now she's coming back to 115. Who the hell knows what happens in this fight? No idea what happens in this fight. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade, and I'm going to make her my pick. I probably will or may regret this. But Jessica Andrade is who I'm going to go with. That's about it. Got to return a call. Check us out coming up, MMA Power Hour. Great show for you on Tuesday night between 6 and 8 p.m. Pacific time. Check my Facebook file and also the Hannibal TV on Facebook and on YouTube. Appreciate you guys, and enjoy the fights tomorrow. It's going to be a pretty killer night of action, if not a lot of big names, which are not good. But anyway, guys, we'll fight hard. Should be a fun night. Enjoy, guys. Take care. Peace.